So I'm in ControlUp Solve, which you might have seen in other videos, but from our ControlUp Solve interface, you see here a little icon here if you use our synthetic monitoring tool, which brings you straight from with single sign-on into the Scoutbees user interface. And the Scoutbees solution is about proactive synthetic monitoring. So it's using tests, proactive testing, synthetic transaction testing, to mimic user behavior. So let's first start with an example of an application running on either Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops or Horizon. So if I click here on Create a Scout, and Scout is our name for a test. It's basically a test definition. And if I click on that, you see here in the top, there's two types of tests or scouts, EUC or network. So let me start with EUC. And the first choice I need to make is about the hive. And a hive is basically the location where this test will initiate from. And you have the option to use our cloud hives. So this is all SaaS-based, so there's literally no setup time. You can just get a trial, or if you're a paying customer, you can go into your Scoutbees account, you can click on Create Scout, click on Cloud Hive, select one, and then you just configure the test. Now, in my case, I'm going to do a demo of a Citrix application. And then in my case, I have multi-factor authentication bypass configured for the service account, but there are options to use multi-factor authentication. In my case, that's not needed. I can click on Get Resources, and it enumerates all the apps that are in my Citrix environment. So let me just, as an example, select Notepad. Always a popular application to test. I'll give it a name, Sales Team Word Processing, something that I can easily identify it with. And then I click on Next, and my test is now configured. Now, the test itself is useful, and we'll look at some of these test results here in a minute. But obviously knowing when an application is unavailable or has performance availability issues is important as well. So we have a very granular alerting policy that I can assign. So I can say, like, well, if the test failed, send me an email, or if the test succeeds, but it took a certain time, I can configure that here. For this test, I'm just going to skip that and click on Save Scout. And that's it. Now I'm off to the races. I'm proactively testing this particular application running in my Citrix environment. I could have done the same with VMware, Horizon published applications or desktops, but it's not just for EUC. We also have network tests. So I can, for example, create, again, a Scout, select network, and you see that there's a bunch of network-oriented tests. If I, for example, take the HTTPS test, I can, for example, put in any SaaS application. I can do a quick test to make sure that I type that right. And as you can see, I got a 200, so that's a positive response. Just like with the other Scout, I can just continue, configure the alerting policy, and now I have it set up to test my SaaS application. That is how easy it is to start using. After that it's, of course, looking at the test results, getting alerted, right, so that you can proactively either communicate with your users there's an issue, or even address application availability issues. And to just give you a quick example of a test that I already had running, here you see over the last 24 hours, the test results of this particular desktop. I can see all the individual apps. I can get all the data. These are actually the boring one, because successful tests are, it's more interesting when you get failures. I don't think I have any recent failures on this one, but as you can see, this really tells me before it becomes an issue. Before 300 users start complaining at 8 a.m. in the morning, like, hey, my application is working. So Scoutbees is a critical part of what you do around application performance testing and application availability testing. And you can't see, you should really do both.